Hello, this is Ryan from Amnesty, and I'm going to show you Harold Bluetooth for Denmark. I'll show you the victory conditions I'd recommend if you were to play as him, show you the two unique units that they have, and I'll tell you what social policy I would recommend if you were to play as Denmark. So anyway, their personality trait will be Viking Fury, which means embarked units have a +1 movement, pay just 1 movement point to move from sea to land, and melee units pay no movement point cost to pillage, which essentially means that you're able to just dominate pillaging lands. When you go to war with people, you'll be able to take all the money that you want. Hopefully you'll go to war with a civilization that has tons of improvements all around, because again, you'll gather tons of money. With that money that you have, you'll be able to buy units, buy buildings, or buy settlers, workers, whatever you need. It all depends on what's going on with you as far as the civilization goes. So, as far as victory conditions go, I would definitely recommend scientific or domination as #1. It's kind of a hard, hard to choose between the two, and the reason being is because domination is somewhat skewed because he doesn't exactly have the greatest bonus towards a military domination victory. He does have the Berserker and the Ski Infantry unit, but again, both are kind of set in different eras, so you wouldn't want to start dominating in the beginning. If anything, you pick Liberty as a social policy, and you start expanding a lot, and then through that expansion, you'll have a lot of units to be able to go attack. So anyway, domination is probably #1 thing you want to do. If not that, you want to go with science, because again, you want to dot the map up with as many cities as you can, so as long as you can afford it and afford the happiness, and you get a lot of science. The two that I definitely wouldn't recommend is definitely diplomatic and cultural, because again, diplomatic, you're going to be fighting people, you're going to be pillaging things. There's no reason you want to be diplomatic. And then cultural, same thing. You're going to want to be spread out, more or less. And spread out civilizations won't be able to get as much culture as some other civilization would be able to. And also, generally, they're going to be on the coast. And coastal civilizations tend to have a little bit more of a difficult time than more inland civilizations, just because more of the natural wonders are actually more inland. Not all the time, but from what I've noticed, it generally is. At least the cultural ones are. So, I'll show you the Berserker and the other special unit. This costs to be 120 production, or 200 faith. It's a melee unit, its combat's going to be 21, and its movement will be 3, so it does move fairly quickly. And it also is amphibious, so that way you're able to move over the river tiles without having to pay that extra movement point. And this guy is definitely something I would recommend to build tons and tons of. Again, you won't get him until the later ages. He replaces the long swordsman, so you'll have to make sure that you're going to have steel, and you're also going to have to make sure you have iron. With that being said, again, these guys will just ravage the land, and he's not a bad unit to actually attack cities with. If you have a couple trebuchets, catapults, whatever your siege unit will be, if you siege the city a little bit, use 2 or 3 of these guys to go in and take over the city, manages pretty well. And then the other special unit that you'll get is the Norwegian Ski Infantry. It'll be 225 production. It's a gunpowder unit. Its combat's going to be 34. Its movement will be 2, so it's actually a little bit slower than the Berserker. But of course, he'll be a lot stronger than the Berserker, but he's also in a different era. So he'll get bonuses in the snow, tundra, and hills. So the snow and tundra tend to be not so important, but more or less the hills. Because again, if you're on a hill and you're fighting another city that's not yours, or maybe even is yours, not fighting your own city, but if you're on a hill, you'll get a huge bonus. So that's the more important one, and it is very helpful. And then it also replaces the rifleman, just in case you wanted to know. And so again, I mean, domination as far as Denmark goes, it is possible, but I would say it's one of the more trickier ones from some of the other domination-based civilizations, just because their 2 special units are good, but they're more or less good against in the snow and pillaging stuff. Not so much about attacking cities and or units, so it makes it a little bit challenging, but it's definitely doable. So next I'll show you the social policies I would recommend if you were to play Denmark. Before I show you any social policies, I'll tell you about Denmark's start bias. This is an odd one for me. Normally you won't start. You may start in plains, That makes a little bit of sense, but the desert that's near me does not make sense at all. Denmark is nowhere near a desert. It's in a colder region with plains, with firs, which I have, so that makes sense. Generally, you'll see tundra, you'll see the plains, um, and rivers, and somewhat of a coastal islandy mix. So this start by is a little bit odd, but anyway, I'll show you the social policy I would recommend if you were to play as Denmark. And definitely would be Liberty. Liberty because in the beginning, you want to rapidly expand. Once you have a bunch of cities established and built up, that way when you're able to get steel, you're able to build a lot of your berserkers. And with those berserkers, you're able to pillage tons and tons of land. And again, by that time, you'll kind of know whether or not you want to do that. Because if you don't, then you could kind of choose some of the more advanced social policies past the beginning, what policies you want to go towards. By that time, you may be recognizing that somebody actually is more powerful than you, or you've been attacked, and you realize you're not quite as powerful as you want to be. And in that case, you may want to go with rationalism to help out with science, or maybe even religion if that's what you've done. So it all depends. As any other civilization, I mean, you can win with anything, honestly, but the higher difficulties, it makes it very difficult if you don't really follow what personality traits you get. So again, that is Denmark. Please rate, subscribe, and comment, and watch some of my other videos. Thanks, guys.